Okay, so I am gonna pick up where I left off with making the model and talk about rendering now. Um, I've got the I've got Rhino in the four windows, just so you can see the different views that you get of the different objects. But for the purpose of rendering, I'm just going to switch to the top view, and since I can really see the entire object from the top view, that'll work fine. So when I'm ready to render, what I want to do is go up in the menu here. There's the Render tab, and I'm going to scroll all the way down and open up Materials. This always takes a little while with the spinning wheel because there's a lot of stuff that loads up on the computer. But once you've done it, it'll move relatively quickly. So you see right now I've got this whoop. I've got one window here that has the materials that I opened up. I've got this other window here that has the model. I find it's much easier to put them together. And the way you do that is you go to Window and Merge All Windows. And what that does is it throws the materials up into this tab on the right, the model on the left. So again, when I see all the tools here, so I'm in the modeling area. If I click on an object, it'll tell me what type of object it is. And when I click on the materials panel, it brings up this other panel, and I don't see the tools over here, but I see this library of materials. And what you can do is you can scroll through the library of materials, and you can see what different materials there are, kind of like shopping for materials. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how you add the materials. So I'm going to start out, and I will make the first leaf, I'm going to turn it into painted pine. So I left click on that, and I bring it over, and I'm going to drop it onto the object. So it's going to go onto that leaf. And you can see now that the leaf has that green color, and it's painted pine if you actually move up close to it. The other thing that happens is the painted pine gets brought over into the model materials. It's showing the picture frames as another material because those pictures are still there. Let's see where they want. Yeah, so you still got that one material is the picture frame. So what I can do is, let's say I'm going to make I can go back into the top view here. It's easiest to get in the top view over here, and then, well, I'm just going to kind of scroll so I'm looking at it from the top, but there is definitely a way to get in a top view. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to grab the painted pine, and I'm going to move it to the other leaves here. And since they're individual objects, I can drop it on each one of these objects. So I'm going to make a multicolored flower. So I've got this green. And you can also see how there's reflectivity. So when I move it around, the surfaces kind of pick up the light and shine a little bit differently. So if I want to play around with the material, I can do that by clicking over here on Painted Pine. And what it does is it brings up this menu here. And in this menu, I can change the characters of the material. For instance, I can make it more transparent by sliding it over, and then I kind of see through it. Where you can see the leaves going through it. Doesn't totally make sense for a flower. I can make it more reflective, where it reflects the light more, and I can make it glossier or duller. And that is basically totally up to your discretion. It's something to play with. If I want to change the color, I don't want it to be green, I can click on material color, and it brings this little color picker here, and I can change it to red by dragging. Let's see. Click on the red. Okay, so it changes the color to red, and you can see it's changing over there. So you can adjust it. Now it's more of an orangey color. So you can really adjust the colors all you want. Now, if I want to use another material, I can come in and say white matte. I'm going to drop that on a leaf here. Doesn't look all that much different than what's already there. And let's try something else. Let's try bamboo. If I decide I don't want the white matte, I'll just drop bamboo onto there. And it changes. The bamboo looks a little weird because of the grain, but let's see what happens if I, this would be kind of a little ridiculous, but I'm going to put floorboards on there. And now you can see you've got a flower with floorboards. So you can go a little bit surreal if you want to with the different materials. And I encourage you, with your model, just play around with materials and see what they do. Let's see what happens with ruby. Ruby's transparent. But you can see how it'll pick up the light differently depending on how you move it in perspective. And I can make the center, that's like a glass material, so it's sapphire. And if I go and I select sapphire right here, I can make it less transparent. And more or less reflective. So you can really change the qualities of how the colors work together. It's actually kind of fun to play around, and I think that as a photographer, this might be something that you enjoy. Bringing in these patterns, these actually are photographs. I'm going to bring in one here and show you stripe. Okay, so stripe, I'm going to drop on that. And that is, if we click on stripe, we go over here and you can see that you go into advanced settings. And I think I've got to pull this up a little bit. Oh, okay, with stripe tiling, you don't need to go to advanced setting, and you can change the numbers here. Because the image is tiled, I can change that to 1 and see what happens when I press return. So now we kind of changes how the stripe is spread over here. So I'm going to change this back now to 10 and see what happens. And you can see you get like a stripy tile. That's a little bit too much. Oh, it's 1,000. That happens a lot, as you think you're getting 10. I'm going to click. So it's really 10. And now you can see how you make the stripe tighter. If I change this number to 20, the stripe's going to get even tighter. So that's something that's kind of fun to play around with. So anyhow, you can change the materials, and then I can come back here and I can zoom in really tight, and I can change the materials on this very center part here. And you see how it's highlighted. When I'm on the object right now, I'm over the ruby, and you see it's highlighted. When I go back over to the sphere, then I know I'm going to drop it on the sphere. So you can change as many of the colors as you want to. Mix them up however you want to. Let's try herringbone. That's kind of cool. So anyways, now the next thing I'm going to show you, and this is an important point. I've had a bunch of students sending screenshots of their Rhino model, but what you want to do is actually render. And you do rendering through the render tool right here. You just click on that, and I will click on render. So what the computer is doing is it's making an image. This will be a JPEG, and the resolution of the materials changes. It gets a little bit more refined. It looks different. It also drops out the grid pattern in the background, so you get a much purer image than if you just do a screenshot. So you definitely want to render. Rendering, depending on how close in you are, how tight you are, can take some time. But now I have an actual JPEG. So the last step is you got to save it. You save that in this toolbar here. Give it a title and export. And there's a JPEG that you're going to be able to upload to the assignment or email. Now, remember that the render is a snapshot of what you see in the screen. So if I render this right here, the image I'm going to get, here, I'll show you how to do it. It's going to be exactly what I see in the screen. So you can control the view of your render. I'm not going to bother saving that. You can zero in, you can move around, you can really play with composition a lot. You can see how the lighting's different, and you can move and zoom in, and out of one render or one actual image, you get lots of different images, JPEGs from it. So I'm going to render this. This one's going to be really slow. Well, not so slow, but it's going to be slower because there's more detail. So you end up with it. They're actually, the renders are photographs. They're two-dimensional images that express themselves. They look like they're three-dimensional, but they are photographs. And they can make really fabulous prints, too. Something you could do with the Service Bureau. You can have prints made. They have some glossy paper that's kind of cool. So this could be like a finished piece of art. So I hope that gives you an idea of how to use rendering. And if you have any questions, feel free to let me know. And I'm going to sign off this tutorial. Hopefully this has helped you move along.